think what makes something a tale of our time is based off of the impact or the effect that it has on a set time frame, and specifically our time frame.
Hello and welcome to Tales of Our Time. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others should or could find meaning in them as well. We tackle movies, books, comics, and more. Wherever there's a story, there's a reason to read or watch in today's story. Now, I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and I feel it's my duty to warn you that this is not a spoiler-free show. So if you're interested in watching what we're talking about today, go watch it as soon as possible. Of course, I'm not alone. I am joined today by my friend, Anthony Van.
Hello.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am also doing good. Is there anything you want to do to introduce yourself?
My name is Anthony Van. I have lived in Taiwan for couple of years in the past. I now currently live in the States, but
came back visiting family.
Came back, visited family, visited friends.
Yeah.
Eat the good food here.
You got to mention Taiwanese food whenever you're here.
I got to mention it.
Absolutely. So what story have you brought for us today?
The story I brought is Jurassic Park, the movie, the first one. I'm pretty sure it's Spielberg.
Now, like I said, I think most people will be familiar with the events of Jurassic Park, but just in case, maybe some people need a refresher, or some people are a little bit afraid of the really good animatronics. Not animatronics, but like...
Partially. They were partially animatronics.
Some of them are puppets.
CGIs.
And some were CGI.
Yeah.
So could you give us a summary of the events of that movie?
Yeah. The beginning of Jurassic Park starts with the exploration of fossils. We're looking at dinosaurs that were fossilized, and that's the beginning of the introduction. It quickly diverges into this mad scientist kind of world where there is a rich benefactor, a bunch of scientists, cool science mumble jumble going on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They quickly tried to show the audience and the scientists that were on there a rushed version of this, almost like theme park joyride version of what the science is behind it. Dr. Hammond's grandkids are the ones that are the children in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's the one who owns the theme park.
He owns the theme park.
And he wanted to bring dinosaurs back.
And he also wanted to get the buy-off from two renowned paleontologists, Dr. Ellie Sattler, I believe,
Yeah.
And then Dr. Alan Grant.
Okay. I always forget why they're there. I just know that there are scientists there.
They're there to buy off on the park to say that they're safe, and they're the foremost dinosaur experts.
Yeah.
So who else to say that the thing that are keeping dinosaurs safe is working than dinosaur experts?
Yeah.
And then there is a mathematician, Dr. Ian Malcolm,
although
he calls himself as egotistically calls himself a chaostician. Yeah.
Cool.
And
I love that.
Yeah. And then there is also a lawyer.
So those are the people who are there.
They're given a tour. This is the same tour that's supposed to be given to everybody. And they make a big scene, a whole play about it. There's it's a whole joyride.
Mm-hmm.
And they introduce the most important thing, science, the genetic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie was made to be a cautionary tale about genetic engineering. And then
that's why it's a heavy theme in the movie.
Yeah.
You really cannot get away from.
And then they just turned into this theme park joyride kind of thing. And that just, it just shows exactly how much concern they've given or thought they've given into doing the stuff that they're doing.
Or lack thereof.
Right. Yeah.
And so after they introduce the dinosaurs, things just keep going wrong.
Yeah, it's a series of unfortunate events, but There's a series of unfortunate events that could have been avoided at each step. But yes, things unravel eventually.
Dinosaurs get like a pod breaks, the kids get loose in the dinosaur park.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs see kids. They're like sick food.
Sick food.
The T-Rex breaks out, starts causing havoc.
But there's a storm.
Oh.
There's a hurricane that's coming.
I forgot about the hurricane.
And so this whole park is actually supposed to be staffed, and there's supposed to be a bunch of people there taking care of stuff.
Yeah.
But they all left.
Oh, because
of the hurricane. And so the special guests, the scientists, the mathematician, the kids, and all of them, they stayed behind because they're going to get the private tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things unravel. Power goes out.
Cool.
Yeah. So everything just starts to go south. Everything goes wrong. And then it becomes a tale of survival, of trying to beat this environment that is just too deadly for humans to normally survive in.
Right. But to finish up the movie, from what I remember, or do you want to finish it up? I mean, we ended with like things kind of start going wrong.
Things go wrong. There's some casualties along the way.
Yeah, people
die as predicted. And there is a real triumph towards the end of most of them survive, and whatever means
survive.
necessary. Yes, the kids survive.
If that would upset you, the kids survive. They get out with the hot doctor.
And then the slimy lawyer from the board does get eaten by the T-Rex.
Right. And it kind of ends with like dinosaurs. Everyone leaves the park, and the dinosaurs own the island.
Essentially, they leave the park. They close essentially the doors, and the dinosaurs basically have free reign. And it just what became like a structured zoo system slowly or completely breaks down into just whatever nature will take. Like nature just takes its course.
Dino Island.
Yeah, Dino Island. Yeah,
and it leads into man versus dinosaur.
Man versus. I wonder if you want to say as man versus dinosaurs, or should we say as like man versus man, or
That's
man
true.
versus man's creation, like a Frankenstein kind of way of looking at it.
It is interesting to discuss at that point. Like, is Jurassic Park a man versus nature story? For those of you who are not familiar with that terminology, there are some writers and like literature buffs who will say there's three kinds of stories that you can write, and everything breaks down into these three types, right?
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No, please do tell me.
Yeah. So people will say there's a man versus nature, man versus man, or man versus self.
Ooh.
And so that every story can be broken into one of these three categories.
Whoa.
Or
This
sorted.
story might be a lot of that though, right? It could be because like Dr. John Hammond is the one that created a park, but the manifestation of the park is also attacking him, and it's his own creation.
Right. Well, so I don't know if I subscribe to that, but it's definitely like something that a lot of people will claim or talk about when they get into talking about like what are stories about, what's the meaning, what can you find in that. So what was your first experience with this movie? Like, when did you see it?
So when it came out, I think I was just born.
Yeah. I mean, neither one of us would have been able to see that one in
I didn't
theaters.
see it in theaters, but I remember watching it on VHS and terrified. I am not a scary movie or suspenseful, or I'm not good with scares. And this movie has plenty of those.
It's a real jump scare / suspense movie about halfway through.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a kid.
At first, I thought it was just a cool science story. We're just going to learn about how dinosaurs are made. That sounds awesome. I'm pretty sure I was like 5 or 6.
Okay, so like peak dinosaur obsession time.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to see all of that. And then the images that they were able to create in the movie were fantastic. But that quickly changed into a scary thing. And so my first interaction or my first experience with it was, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I love dinosaurs, but not these dinosaurs.
I don't love the idea of dinosaurs being loose and eating me.
Yeah.
especially as a 5-year-old child, the most empathizable characters in that film are the two kids who are running around trying not to get eaten.
They're terrified.
And it was very scary. I missed a lot of the majesty of dinosaurs when I first saw that amazing shot with the music, the da-na-na-na.
The whole, that very iconic scene where they see the brontosaurus,
right?
And then the music swells
Right.
up, and then
It was totally lost on me as a kid. I was just thinking about like how I would not survive this film.
In the beginning of the movie, I didn't say it in the summary, but there is a quick intro or showing of the velociraptors essentially terrorizing the park staff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Way over my head. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was like a tiger or something.
Right. Because at the start you did this too in your summary. Like they're very cagey about like when you know it's about dinosaurs, but they do not show you the dinosaurs.
For like the first 30 minutes, they do not show a dinosaur.
Yeah.
They show a claw of a dinosaur. They show bones.
They make you wait.
And then the brontosaurus scene happens, and then everybody's like, "How did they do that?" Yeah.
Wow. So, what do you think makes this movie so impactful for what it was?
Yeah, I think it's so impactful because it was, I think around that time in the 90s, we were very unsure about a lot of things. And I think this is a tale of our time because it definitely shows what one way of us going down a path in science and technology. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that, and whether or not we've actually learned our lessons from that remains to be seen, honestly. And that movie is like 30. I'm same age as me, so 30 years old now. And so what do we do wrong? Did we not figure it out? And
well, you said, like, you've mentioned a few times the term cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale.
As this is a cautionary tale of science.
Yeah.
And interestingly, not interestingly, I feel like you did this on purpose, compared it to Frankenstein. And I don't know, did you know Frankenstein was often called, or originally called, like the new Prometheus?
Yes.
So themes of like science being a light forward, but perhaps without ethics or without thought for what it could be, are really telling and really, really popular.
Yeah.
Those kind of stories, Prometheus, Frankenstein, and in this case, Jurassic Park, I think you're right about that, are really meant, or when people interpret them, will often say that it is science without ethics.
Yes.
What's his name says that? The handsome man.
The handsome man.
What's his name?
Dr. Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum.
The
chaosician.
Yeah.
Yes.
He says a famous line like, "We spent so much time thinking about if we could. We didn't think if
we should."
Yeah.
Yes. That was a great line. I don't much care for his character, but he is oddly the moral compass of the group at some point. Leave it to the suave, smooth operator of all the scientists that are there to be like, I don't know if we should, because the paleontologists there are like just
mind blown.
Wow. They're like, oh my gosh.
They're like the rest of us. Maybe the audience stand-in is like, whoa, dinosaurs, cool.
The lawyer is already thinking about how to make money off of it. He's like, we can just sell kids passes or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh. And
take your kids to see the giant. I guess we already do that with other things.
Yeah, they're comparing to zoos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the statistician was like, we did this, but we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't have. Or we have this new technology, genetic engineering. We're able to rewrite the genetic code of things. And that has repercussions for generations to come.
Yeah.
Going back to that.
You know what? The original question was like, why did you find meaning in this? But I think it really nicely answered what is usually my second question, which is like, why do you think other people could or should find meaning in this too? Just talking about it as a cautionary tale, I feel like in a funny way, you might even kind of joke that the same question could be asked about the later movies, books, and retellings. Like we spent so much time imagining how we could do dinosaurs again and better and tell another dinosaur story. But should we have done it?
Think this? Yeah, should we do it?
Should we have done it?
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of entertainment, yeah, we should have.
Yeah, definitely.
But for the purposes of a meaningful story to tell people, no, probably not. I mean, they really, the sequels really went away from, I think, what the core values I think the first movie really talked about.
Yeah.
And then it just became a thriller.
Yeah. Well. No, I guess I think that would really depend on it. I was going to say, don't you think the first one is just meant to be a thriller? But, since we've spent so much time batting this back and forth, I do think you're right. And you did mention this was originally based off of a book.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that until you mentioned it, I think yesterday when we were talking about this. So all that considered, like it really is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
And I just learned that today. A tale of our time teaching us new things. So I want to ask you, this was the question I didn't tell you was coming. If you could give Jurassic Park a snappy one-line subtitle, what would it be?
Oh, it'd have to be Jeff Goldblum's or Dr. Ian Malcolm's line of, we were so busy with making or doing or progressing science that we never stopped to think that if we should.
So like,
we could say
Jurassic
it much more snappier.
World. No, not World.
Not
That's
World.
the later ones.
Let's not even get into
we're not
World.
doing
That's a
Jurassic
whole
World.
difference.
That is another. We did, but should we?
We should have is what we should.
It's really hard to pin it down because there's so many different ways that we could say it.
Yeah.
But I guess the word progress, you mentioned that. So let's use that then.
Yeah.
So the snappy title would be
Scientific Progress Without Ethical Planning.
Yeah. And that's pretty good. I think that's as close as we can get. But unfortunately, we are out of time. So this has been Tales of Our Time from Radio Taiwan International with my guest, Anthony Van. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
See you next time. Hello, everyone. This is Amanda from the future breaking in here to say that actually we did continue the conversation. This is only part 1 of my talk with Anthony Van on Jurassic Park, and the rest of it will be continued next week. So please tune in there to hear it if you want to get more information on just what was man versus nature and the other kind of things that we didn't really get to touch upon. So I hope that you really enjoyed this episode, and I also hope that we'll see you next time. Until then, this has been Jurassic Park, Scientific Progress Without Ethical Planning, a tale of our time. Hope to see you next week.